as something that was significant. And that's really one of the main reasons that I'm here and that I've continued with this work, trying to encourage people to provide support in any way they can for that ongoing mission. And the caring ministries are also a part of it, because the United Methodist Church, the INP, since 1990 has been providing caring ministries in terms of wells, 200 wells, 75 of them are borehole and over 100 open wells, schools, support with orphanages, medical clinics, providing medicine, books, the sea container, lots of support in the area where the church is located. And they go hand in hand. The caring ministries set the stage for the evangelism. When we were there, I'll tell you this story. When we were visiting there the first time back in October of 2012, Chris Congdon, I was traveling with Chris, he's our media coordinator from our church in Cedar Falls. And we sat down with their district superintendent in his office, and he was explaining the dynamics of that area of Nigeria where half the people are Muslims and half of them are Christians. And in that area, they subsist, they get along well. They live side by side. There's a place where the dirt road goes by a United Methodist Church here, and a few hundred feet over here is a mosque, and they're like within 300 feet of each other. But they get along real well. Not to say that there aren't some extremist Muslim groups, primarily Boko Haram in the far northeastern part of the country, but for the most part they get along well. But this general superintendent was telling Chris and I that how all these various caring ministries we were providing, with the medical clinic, with water, with financial support so they could provide food, with agricultural programs. He said those things are so important to evangelism, because those are provided by you for the communities, not just for the Methodists or the Christians. Mm-hmm. And the Muslims come and they partake and they get the benefit of the clean water and the medical care and the education, the books, and they see people who love them unconditionally. They're not being told, if you're a Christian or if you're a Methodist, you can come and partake. They're not. They share openly with them, and it softens their heart. And then they want to know more about these people who are helping them, and it prepares them for the message, for the gospel. And so he was just telling us how important that was. And so the caring ministries and the evangelism go hand in hand. Those two scriptures capture those two important elements of the work. I've concluded, after having taken 2 trips there, that to be involved in mission work there of this type is not only challenging but very meaningful, and it is a very tangible way to help carry out the Great Commission without having to go there and spend your entire life living there and trying to be a missionary. You are helping to equip those who can go out and can spread the gospel amongst the children, amongst the Muslim population, amongst their neighbors in these villages and these towns of Nigeria. The title I gave, I was trying to describe the various aspects of the work in Nigeria. Exciting. I used the word exciting. It is pretty exciting to go there. I mean, everything's new. It's a beautiful country. You're seeing images of things you never see in the U.S. You see along the roadsides, you see all the animals and all the people walking. They don't have sidewalks and lots of other ways to travel, so people are always along the roadside. It's exciting. It's probably a little risky by comparison to other kinds of mission work you can be involved with. It's exotic, sure. It's very different than our own country. It's a different culture. It's extravagant. The reason I call it extravagant evangelism is that we are providing them with the type of support and the water and the medical care and the books, and in our church put in a computer lab so they can have internet access and at the seminary. They have internet access. We can email. We can be in communication with them constantly. They can do research. We're providing things that they could not have. They could not have the things that they're having the benefit of without our support. I consider that extravagant. Exhausting. True. It's 18 hours of flying one way. And then when you get there, you got 8 hours in an SUV to get to the seminary out in the sticks of East Central Nigeria. And the conditions, living conditions, are difficult. Every day is like Friday at the fair, 90 degrees plus and humid. There's no air conditioning anywhere. And there's no running water. You get water from maybe a well, and you better boil it for 20 minutes because our systems won't take the bacteria they have. And we have to be very careful about drinking only bottled water or water that's been boiled to take out all the bacteria that we can't tolerate, or else you get really, really sick. But it's exhausting to go there. But if you're only there for a couple weeks, it's not bad. It's kind of gets it flushes out all the bad stuff. You're living on water and rice. Hey, I lost 20 pounds in less than 2 weeks. I gained it back in about a month, but it's you're drinking lots of water to try to stay up on that, and you're eating rice because they cook rice, and a few other things, scrambled eggs. But their diet's very simple. It's engaging. The people hold your attention with the stories that they tell of their lives, their faith, their joy, their gratefulness, their perseverance in very difficult, sometimes dire circumstances. Their living conditions are difficult, but they persevere, and they have good attitudes. But they don't know anything else, so I guess that explains it. But they're amazing people, and so it's engaging work. I've had the opportunity to speak with about 10 Iowa churches about this, and I found people to be quite interested in what goes on there. And I've encouraged people to get involved. There's a laundry list of different options or opportunities for raising some money for this or that or the other thing. I can tell you what those are as we go along here, but there are a variety of ways to help them to be in mission with the INP and other Iowa churches in a variety of ways, whatever sounds like it was, what you would really enjoy. They say a photo's worth 1,000 words. So I'm going to try to speed this along by showing you some photos and images of Nigeria as we go through here, and I'll add a little commentary as we go. I'll go fairly quickly because I know you guys have lunch plans. Here's a picture of traveling on a road in Nigeria. It's a dirt road. Water comes in heavy deluges that washes out the roads and bridges frequently. There are lots of motorcycles because motorcycle is a good way to travel. This is on one of our trips, very characteristic of the area where BTS is located. Let's look at, this is another picture of the road, a typical road. Next picture. Here, this is fairly common. They do put in some roads, actual hard roads with asphalt or concrete, but they don't last. The conditions are, the weather and the rains and the floods and the heat and the humidity. And this is the culvert where there was a bridge. Well, of course, everything washed out except for the culvert. Now it's not. Now it's just sitting there. They have a difficulty maintaining what they have because of two reasons. Once they build a road, the conditions typically take a toll on that road very quickly, and they don't generally have the resources and the ability to maintain it the way we do. We complain about our roads, but really, if you go to Nigeria and you come back, our roads are really great. It's okay. They're negotiating a river bottom or whatever, trying to get a loaded truck through. Next picture, and then sometimes the roads are shared with animals. Here's a Fulani run their cattle throughout Nigeria. Their property rights aren't terribly well established. So if you have cattle, a big herd, you can take them around and everywhere to everybody else's, around everyone's homes and on the roads, and you're sharing everything. And it's here we were on a road trying to get over a mountain, and all of a sudden this big cattle herd came, and we had to let them pass by. Cattle, I think it's a mixture of cattle and goats. We can see, there's Chris taking a picture out the truck window. And then in the red shirt way back there is Pastor Steve Williams. He wanted to get out and watch the herd come down the hill towards us. He was brave, I guess, more brave than Chris. Next photo. Oh, and here we're traveling, crossing the Benoit River. It was the shortcut from Jalingo to Banyam. I think it cut off an hour or two to go on this riverboat where you put the cars on these kind of rickety wooden boats. I'm really glad we made it over across, I was not, but it happened. Apparently they haven't lost any vehicles, at least not that they said. So let's look at the next one. Okay, there's Beverly Nolte on one of those boats crossing the river. Okay, the next one. There we are. That's one of the next one, please. All right, there's typical village. They have a lot of the villages have grass huts, hard packed dirt floor probably. Next one. There's a typical, I guess, a pathway. It's not really a road. Maybe it was a road. I'm not sure. It's hard to tell sometimes roads from just a path, a walking path. But people just, there are lots of people there. Next photo. Oh, I got to hold a little baby when I was at Jalingo. Next photo. Typical cooking. This is one of the students at BTS. They cook outside over a fire typically and make rice usually. They don't eat a lot of meat. Sometimes chicken. There's some pictures later here. This is another location where we stayed, where they were preparing our meal over using some pans outside over a fire. And there's the rice they're getting ready to put on in the cauldron. There you go. I think that's rice. That's what most of the students. And there's a gift. We received gifts over there that are a little unusual. We went and visited a medical clinic in Salamincala, the clinic that was built by Eldora United Methodist Church. While we were there in 2012, we visited the clinic. And Chris and I, and so, we talked to them and took some pictures, and they showed us the plans, expressed some concerns about how that clinic was progressing because it was in the construction phase. And we were just kind of doing a courtesy visit. That wasn't the reason for us to go, but we were close. We were fairly close to Salamincala. And so at the end, they had us go over into the shade tree, and they brought us bottles of pop. And then the village elder came and presented a gift. And it was 2 chickens. And they were, Chris and I saw them coming. We kind of both were thinking, oh my gosh, he's going to maybe give those chickens to somebody. So Chris, being smart, he quick grabbed his camera so that I'd be the one to receive the chickens. And sure enough, they came and presented the chickens to me. And I was kind of taken aback, but it was fun. And we go in to put those on, and it's easy to transport, you just throw them over the handlebars of the motorcycle. That's what we did. Little did I know they were still alive, and they started squawking. And anyway, this is another gift of chickens for another group last summer. Dave Neal and Janet Williams went out and visited a medical clinic, and they were presented with 2 chickens too. So it's quite an honor actually to be given 2 chickens, by the way. This is a picture of the students at BTS in the fall of 2014. They were digging the footings, I think, for the medical clinic. The medical clinic that our church helped us provide the materials for it, along with Living Faith, United Methodist Church in Monona. And the students, we couldn't make it that fall because of some things that were going on. I think it was the Ebola was going through West Africa in the fall of 2014. So we canceled our trip in that fall, but they continued to do the work, building this medical clinic. And there's what they ended up with. They did the footings for the walls, for the various rooms. This is work they did. We provided, I think, $10,000. Our church and Living Faith provided $10,000. That provided all the materials they needed for to build the church. Next picture. There's the clinic when we arrived last June. Our group from our church, Steve Williams, Dave Neal, Chris Congdon, myself. We arrived, and the clinic is built with a nice blue tin roof on it. That's not on the back side. I think it's about 50, trying to think of the dimensions of that, medical clinic. It's like 50 feet by maybe 60 by 40. I'm not sure. I can't remember now. It's a nice clinic. Doing some painting. Next photo, please. There's Steve Williams, Pastor Steve, painting. He was a really good painter. There's Dave Neal doing some painting inside the clinic. There's a couple of staff there. That's one of their professors, Deco. We're supporting him and helping him obtain a master's degree from Watts, West African Theological Seminary. But he's a pretty good painter. He helped us do the painting on this project. It took us about 3 days to paint the clinic last June when we were there. There's inside the general ward where their bed's going to be placed. The sea container that we sent over this year, which is going to be unloaded last week, I think, finally, had about 8 beds that came from Cedar Falls, from a Covenant clinic that they closed. So this should have beds in it soon. There's the clinic that was painted then 3 days after we arrived at BTS. There it is. This is the medical clinic committee that we met with, and they're from people from the seminary as well as the community. And I think the lady on the right there, with the colorful dress, she's a retired nurse from another clinic who moved nearby, who started in November manning the clinic for part-time, I think mornings. Monday through Friday, like 8 till 12, she's there to receive patients and providing medical care. Medical supplies have been sent over from St. Tim's, paid money, like $500 for medical supplies. Another church over by Fort Dodge, it was Boxholm, Otho, I forget, it's a 4-point charge that I talked to. And they took up an offering and sent $500 in the next week to buy medical supplies for that clinic. And that was in August, I think, or September. And then this clinic opened up like I said, in November. There's the well at BTS with the children in the morning going over to get the water for the family for the day, to probably take it back home for washing up and drinking probably. There's the chapel at BTS. This was built back in 2011 or 10 or 11 with a donation from a gentleman, farmer up in northwest Iowa. It's a nice chapel, actually. That's the medical clinic, or that's the computer lab that our church helped to support. We sent money, our Easter offering in 2012, and so there were a bunch of donated laptops, about a dozen of them, and then a big dish outside the clinic. There's their library with books supplied by by Iowans. Iowa churches sending books over, some every year. This is one of the pastors who's been educated, Yehuda. He was the provost. Now he's an instructor, but he's received education, graduate education, with support of Iowans. Usaja, he's just finished up his master's degree too, with the support of Iowans. Isa, he's undergoing a master's degree. He's been through 1 year. He started up again soon. I mean, right now or maybe next month, his second year. Blessing's one of the students. She actually runs the computer lab because she's got good keyboarding skills, and she actually knows computers. But she's also attending classes now. And our church, she's one of 4 students that are receiving scholarships, about $400 for 1 year of attendance at BTS. It takes 3 or 4 years to become a pastor and get a degree, depending on which program. They've got a 3-year degree to get a diploma and be able to be a pastor in the United Methodist system there, or a 4-year. But Blessing is starting her 2nd year soon. Anthony, when we met him last June when we were there, he was getting ready to go home. Well, we met him because he was helping to dig a ditch, doing shovel work in horrendous heat, and a very hard worker. We met him and talked to him, and Pastor Steve and I really liked him. And we found out that he was a really good student, but he didn't have any money. So he was going to be going home to his home village and not going to be continuing at BTS. And we said, really? You know, he's one of the 4 we decided when we came back, we're going to keep him in school. Because they said he's good enough, he's smart enough, he could become an instructor here. He had that kind of potential. So Anthony, we got him a scholarship last fall. Paulina, she's one of our scholarship students. She actually runs their nursery for the children of the families who are there. They have to have help, and Paulina's helping there. And there's Titus. He does work there too. We're trying to help the people who are really showing the initiative. And so we're maybe a little selective about who we choose to support, but there's a name and there's a face, and we know what they're about. So this is one of the houses that they live in, the families live in. Not so nice. There have been new housing that we've helped to either improve existing or build new. This is a fairly new one that was built, I believe, a few years back. That's probably, I don't know. These were dorms, 2 people in each room, probably built 2010 or 11, but much nicer than what they were accustomed to, and the roofs are secure, so they don't have rain coming in into their rooms. There's one of the students we met last June, Obadiah. He has no use of his legs. He's on a device called a PET, personal energy transport. He uses his arms like this to operate the wheels. He's a student there because 2 years ago he was given a PET that's made in Iowa. These are made in Iowa, and every year they send over 2 or 3 PETs to give to people who need that, who are disabled, that can't walk. And he has no use of his legs, but he can motor around the campus and then drag himself into his class or into his home or what have you. And he's a wonderful young man and a student at BTS. And he's able to do it because he has one of these devices from Iowa. That's one of the kitchens that they share. The students have living quarters. They share a kitchen to do their cooking in not so good condition. Next one. There's another kitchen we photographed, and Chris photographed this kitchen. Then the next day we went back and photographed it again. Oh, yeah, it looked like it was about to fall. So these are the kinds of kitchens that you folks were supporting, to build one of these to allow them to share in a better, safer, weather-secure environment to do their cooking. Next. I think that's an improved home. They got the windows. They have probably the netting or some kind of barrier on the windows against mosquitoes. This is the old school bathroom that they have. Next. There's the new school bathroom. More privacy, better sanitation, protected overhead. I don't know. I forget the cost for that. $500, $600 for a better restroom facility. I think we've got maybe 2 of them now there on campus, and they could use a couple more because they have about 120 families, I believe. There's the pit that Anthony was digging when Pastor Steve and I met him last June. He's digging that pit there. They call it a suckaway, and they run. There's a bathroom in the medical clinic there that runs a pipe down to this area, which is like what you'd have, in your home if you. And so, but that's where he was actually when we met him. And there's some of the children. You walk around there, and if you ever wondered what it was like to be a rock star, go to Nigeria and walk around most places and on campus. Children they just come up to you and they're just amazed. They associate good things with the Batare. They yell Batare, they scream and yelling, running to you, grab you, and they'll touch you, and they'll wonder. They want to make sure you're real, not a ghost, because you're white and they're not, and you're like the only white person they've ever seen, maybe, which is quite an imposing type of a deal. Chris and I arrived in Abuja and walked into the airport, and there were 1,000 people or so in this huge airport, capital city. And there were none of them that were white. And Chris and I are walking in here for the first time, having grown up in Iowa, where the white people are in the clear majority. And I looked over at Chris and I said, "Chris, we're not in Kansas anymore." And it's true. It's an imposing type of environment. It was a culture shock that we got used to. But the kids are wonderful, little kids. And they just follow you around, and they associate good things with the Caucasians who come, because they bring stuff, they bring water, they bring kits, they bring medicine, books. It's a good thing. There's a group that when we were leaving BTS last June, it was 7 in the morning, and a bunch of the faculty and students and people knew we were leaving. They just came on over. We got together and had a picture before we left. This is representative worship service, United Methodist Church. I forget where. This is probably in Jalingo. And their worship locations are typically like a warehouse location. Simple, but amazing worship. Goes on for 3 hours every Sunday, from 9 till noon, sometimes longer. But it's very hot. It's very exhilarating. The singing is incredible. The drumming is awesome, and the people are really, really neat people. And that's what it's all about, right there. That's why we're providing support. Thank you.
To be a small part of your ministry and our ministry. As we come together, let us pray silently about all of those things that happened this week, good things that you want to share, prayers of concern that you'd like to share. And so in our silence, Lord, meet us in the silence. Amen. Are there any good things that happened to you this week that you would like to share with the congregation?
Good morning. The only way to be sure that I'm not going to say anything is to tell me, or the only way to be sure that I'm not going to say anything, I guess there's no way to be sure of that, but the way to be sure that I will say something is to tell me I'm not supposed to. We're putting Laura on a plane back to Kuwait today, and we just had a really great couple of weeks. Oh, I'm sad now.
It's a good thing that you were home, I think is basically what he's saying. It's a good thing in that it's sad that you're going back, but blessings on your work and on your teaching this year. So, generous God, it is a good thing to have Mark here, and it is a good thing that we have been in ministry and continue to be in ministry, and we await the word of the next time you're going to Nigeria, because we would like to go. I know there are people here that have expressed wanting to go, and we continue to find new ways to be in partnership. So, generous God, any others? Well, as we pray for the concerns, we're ever mindful of the repair work that is still going on in West Virginia, and we also lift prayers for the people of Louisiana. And as they rebuild, families come together and rebuild their lives. We pray for the rescue workers. We pray for all of the communities. Generous God,
pour out your love.
Are there any other prayers of concern this week? then let us join our voices in the prayer that Jesus taught us. Our Father, who art in heaven, as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread.